Flight attendant tried to remove Hell's Angel, but Ozzy Osbourne was watching. Picture this: a British Airways 747, Los Angeles to London. The air thick with expensive perfume, leather briefcases, and quiet power. In seat 12F sits a man with tangled hair, a faded black t-shirt, and eyes that have seen the rise and fall of rock itself. Ozzy Osbourne. Nobody recognizes him, not yet. And in the next 17 minutes on this flight through the night, he'll remind everyone on board that respect doesn't come with a dress code. Before we begin, comment where in the world you're watching from. If you believe kindness still matters, like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Voices of Darkness. Let's hit that 1,000 subscriber goal together. The hum of business class was almost hypnotic. Soft clicks of laptop keys. The faint pop of champagne corks whispered conversations in polite tones. The kind of world where smiles are rehearsed and shoes never scuff. Ozzy leaned his head against the window, watching the golden sunset fade over Los Angeles. He'd flown for 45 years, but takeoff still made him uneasy. Sharon always teased him about it. "Suzzy, this is your 1,000th flight," she'd say. "You should be used to it by now." But fear has its habit, and some never die. Across the aisle, a young flight attendant named Victoria was preparing her section. 10 years of service had polished her voice to a calm corporate shine. She'd served movie stars, billionaires, even royalty, all predictable, all polite. But the man walking toward her aisle right now didn't fit the profile. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a beard that looked carved by wind and time. Tattoos crawled down his arms like a map of stories, and on his leather vest gleamed a fiery emblem, Hell's Angels, MC California. The chatter dimmed as he stopped at seat 8C. "No problem," he said softly, handing his ticket. "This is my seat." Victoria's smile didn't falter, but her eyes did. "Sir, I'll just double-check." There may have been an error. The man, Jack Thornton, mid-40s, nodded patiently. He'd dealt with worse. But as she studied her tablet, her expression hardened. "Sir," she began, "your ticket is valid, but your clothing might make other passengers uncomfortable. I'll arrange a more suitable seat in economy." The air tightened. Even the champagne bubbles seemed to pause. Ozzy looked up. He'd heard that tone before, and decades ago. The tone that said, "You don't belong here." Jack didn't argue. He just nodded slowly. "If that's your rule, then fine. I'll move." It wasn't submission, it was exhaustion. The kind that grows after years of being misunderstood. Ozzy's hand twitched. Something in his chest burned. 50 years ago, he'd been that man. Mocked for his accent, dismissed for his look, branded dangerous before he ever spoke. He stood. The motion startled half the cabin. A newspaper folded mid-sentence. A spoon clinked into silence. Ozzy walked down the aisle, steady but fierce. Victoria looked up, startled. "Sir, please sit." "No, love," Ozzy interrupted gently. "I heard what you said. You're moving this man because of his appearance?" A few murmurs rippled through the cabin. Victoria straightened, her training returning. "Sir, we have certain standards in business class." Ozzy's voice grew sharper. "Your standards? Based on what? Leather jackets? Tattoos?" He turned to the passengers. "Is anyone here uncomfortable with this man?" Silence. Nobody moved. Nobody dared. "You see," Ozzy said quietly, "the only person uncomfortable is you, because you judged him before you knew him." Victoria's face flushed red. The authority she clung to began to slip. Passengers exchanged glances. Somewhere, someone whispered, "That old man's got guts." At that moment, Margaret, the senior flight attendant, gray-haired, calm, and wise, approached. "Is there a problem here?" Ozzy nodded toward Jack. "Yes, love. This man bought a business-class ticket. She's sending him back because of how he looks." Margaret's eyes darted between them. She checked the ticket herself. Silence hung heavy. Then she said, "Sir, your ticket is perfectly valid. Please sit." "We apologize for the misunderstanding." Victoria tried to protest. "But airline policy—" "Victoria," Margaret cut in. "Policy does not include prejudice." The cabin exhaled. Ozzy smiled faintly. Jack nodded in gratitude, quiet but full of meaning. When Ozzy sat back in 12F, he could feel the whispers fluttering like paper wings behind him. Who was that old man? Did you see how he talked? He looked familiar. But Ozzy didn't care. He just looked out the window as the engines roared. For the first time in a long time, he felt peace. Later, as the fasten seatbelt sign dimmed, Ozzy stood to stretch and passed by Jack. The biker looked up from a medical journal. "Mate," Ozzy said softly. "That was brave keeping calm back there." Jack smiled. "You were the brave one. I'm used to it." Ozzy sat on the armrest beside him. "You a biker full-time?" "Part-time," Jack said. "I'm a trauma surgeon at Cedars-Sinai. Been there 20 years. Weekends, I ride. It clears my head." Ozzy chuckled. "A doctor in the Hells Angels. That's one for the books." "Most people don't believe it," Jack said. "They just see the leather, not the man." Ozzy's face softened. "Story of my life, mate." They talked for nearly an hour about music, hospitals, brotherhood. Jack spoke of surgeries that lasted 12 hours, of holding lives between his hands, and of the roaring engines that healed his mind afterward. "Riding feels like breathing again," Jack said. "No noise, just the road." Ozzy smiled. "For me, that was the stage. Noise everywhere, but inside silence." Jack looked curious. "You said you were in music. What do you do exactly?" Ozzy tilted his head, grinning. "I used to sing, still do sometimes." "Name's Ozzy." Jack frowned. "Ozzy who?" "Osbourne," he said with a small shrug. Jack froze. His journal fell to the floor. "You're Ozzy Osbourne?" "The Ozzy Osbourne?" Ozzy laughed. "That's what they tell me." Jack's voice trembled. "I listen to Paranoid before every hard surgery. It steadies me." Ozzy patted his shoulder. "Then we're even, mate. You save lives. I just sing songs." Hours passed. The plane cruised over the Atlantic. Margaret stopped by quietly. "Mr. Osbourne, thank you for what you did. You reminded us what compassion looks like." Ozzy smiled. "We all forget sometimes, love. What matters is remembering again." 6 hours later, they landed in London. At the terminal, Jack handed Ozzy his card. "If you're ever in Los Angeles, come by the hospital. Maybe we'll ride sometime." "You got it, Doc," Ozzy said, pocketing the card. They hugged, firm and genuine, and then they walked separate ways. Two men, worlds apart, bound by one truth: humanity knows no class. 3 months later, Jack appeared on a local news segment. The headline read, "Hell's Angels Doctor Shares Lesson from 35,000 Feet." He told the story, every detail. "An old man stood up for me that day," he said. "He didn't see a biker. He saw a human. That man was Ozzy Osbourne." The interview went viral. Millions watched. Hashtags trended. Guy respect has no class. Ozzy the legend. When Sharon told Ozzy, he just smiled. "I didn't do anything special," he said. "I just taught a flight attendant a little lesson." But Sharon saw it in his eyes. He knew it mattered. 6 months later, Victoria, the flight attendant, called Jack. Her voice trembled. "Mr. Thornton, I'm sorry for that day. I was wrong." Jack replied gently. "Apology accepted. Just give people a chance next time." Tears ran down her face. That night, she submitted her resignation. Not out of shame, but because she wanted to start over, this time seeing people, not profiles. Months later, Jack received a message. "Mate coming to Los Angeles. There's a concert. You in?" "Ozzy." Jack smiled instantly. That night, the Forum was electric. Lights, fire, and 20,000 voices singing War Pigs. Backstage, Jack met Sharon, who hugged him warmly. "Ozzy keeps telling your story," she said. "He's proud of it." Ozzy walked up, grinning. "Still got that leather vest, Doc?" "Always," Jack replied. "Still got that same black shirt?" They laughed like old friends. Later, on stage, Ozzy raised his mic and said, "There's a friend of mine here tonight. A doctor, a biker, a brother. He taught me something, that people aren't one-dimensional. Never judge a soul by its surface." The crowd roared. Jack stood at the side of the stage, eyes shining. A doctor can wear a leather vest. A legend can wear a worn t-shirt. And sometimes the bravest act is standing up when no one else will. Because silence approves of wrong. Ozzy knew that. Jack learned it. And maybe tonight you needed to hear it too. If this story touched your heart, prove it. Hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Voices of Darkness. Let's reach 1,000 subscribers and show the world that kindness, respect, and courage never go out of style. And if you love Ozzy Osbourne, share this video. Because real legends don't just make music, they make us better humans.